Rand, I need another episode of Fully Cinematic.
We've been getting a lot of French set cinema lately, especially movies involving a black Frenchman in some capacity. While 2022's Cyrano featured a black man who enlisted a fellow soldier to write love letters for him, last year's Chevalier told the story of Joseph Boulogne, a violin virtuoso, conductor, composer, and champion fencer who rose to stardom in Louis XVI's Paris. Now a literary classic written by a Frenchman, a black one at that, has been adapted for the silver screen. Can modern French filmmakers successfully adapt one of their country's greatest literary works? We're about to find out as I take a stab at Les Trois Musketeers. The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan. And oh yeah, there will be spoilers. All right, fuck all that punch. We're told that 1627 France is rife with political turmoil caused by a religious schism between Protestants and the Catholic nobility. We meet our main title character, Charles D'Artagnan, a native of France's Gascony province, as he rides to Paris with hopes of joining the ranks of the famed Musketeers of the Guard. On a dark and rainy night, he intervenes when a group of masked bandits attacks a coach, occupied by a blonde, who shoots him that voulez-vous coucher look. However, when he peeks inside the carriage in order to check on her, she shoots him for real. Or so he thinks. See, another woman hiding behind her is the one who actually licks off the shot, framing her for the crime. The second chick then snags a letter from Blondie before giving word to her muscle to take care of her. Though D'Artagnan is buried, his interment is a tad premature. The aspiring swashbuckler's Bible caught the bullet that was fired at him, and he subsequently claws his way out of his grave zombie style. You didn't think he was really dead, did you? There are 2 more hours left in this. In the City of Light, the mysterious young Miss Constance Bona, whatever delivers a message to the Queen, ostensibly from the panache Duke of Buckingham. But it's actually a forgery written by the trigger woman who put a hot one in D'Artagnan's Bible. In the throne room, King Louis XIII and his brother Gaston disagree over how to proceed with respect to the brewing holy war on the eve of the latter's wedding. Meanwhile, D'Artagnan's would-be murderess plots to kill Le Duc and Her Highness. Our hero sneaks into Musketeer HQ in order to speak directly to the guard's commander, Captain de Treville. Because he was acquainted with his father Achilles, he agrees to write him a letter of recommendation to the director of the Royal Academy, but can only promise a position as a cadet. After spotting one of the goons he fought over the carriage, D'Artagnan bumps into musket slingers Athos, Aramis, and Porthos in his rush to catch up to his target. In Aramis's case, D'Artagnan inadvertently exposes him for creeping with another guy's wife. At any rate, each one separately challenges him to a duel. Though his man gets away, D'Artagnan does manage to run into Constance, who bashes him over the head when she mistakes him for her stalker. But it all works out when he rents a room from her. At the designated fencing location, the dilettante first encounters Athos, who's coincidentally brought the other 2 blade wielders as witnesses. But just as the swords are drawn, guards in the employ of the king's right-hand man, Cardinal Richelieu, arrive and attempt to arrest them for illegal dueling. Though outnumbered, the 3 amigos and the rookie cadet work together to vanquish their foes with savoir-faire, most of whom also had the advantage of being on horseback. Subsequently, the quartet is ordered before King Louis in order to explain themselves. They're let off with a warning and threatened with a stint in the dungeons for another infraction. They celebrate at a pub that evening with beer and maybe French fries. I guess they would just be fries, where Aramis pulls somebody's wife with some witty repartee. The debonair Athos gets drunk, and Porthos reveals that he goes both ways during a menage a trois. The following morning, D'Artagnan rehearses asking Constance out, and Athos is arrested after being found in bed with the body of an assumed prostitute before he can even wolf down a croissant and some crepe Suzette. At his trial, he's sentenced to beheading after expressing a lack of desire for life and refusing to defend himself. However, Captain Treville insists on doing it for him and is given 4 days to appeal by proving his innocence. At the morgue, D recognizes the chick as the blonde from the carriage, only he believes that she tried to kill him. as the real shooter had positioned herself behind her. Buckingham arrives on Normandy Beach after Kenshi Takahashi and the two musketeers search for clues and interrogate suspects. Meanwhile, the king and queen enjoy a morning of bird hunting. Dee attempts to return a ring to the Count of Valcourt and is greeted by the Countess. Isabel, who's actually the woman who shot him, referred to as Milady, wearing a blonde wig. After speaking to her, he snoops around and discovers a painting of the real Isabel de Valcourt, the woman found in Athos's bed, when Milady arrives and shoots him in the midsection. After he escapes, he makes his way home, where Constance cleans and stitches his wound. She also reveals that Izzy was acting as a courier, delivering letters between Queen Anne and Buckingham. The illicit couple meets in secret in Val de Grace before being attacked by a group of assassins. But both Buckingham and the Musketeers kill them all. Upon his departure, Buckingham is gifted the Queen's diamond necklace as a token of her love. She pledges her aid to her rescuers, who ask her to free Athos. Shinobi tells Constance what happened, and they're both thrown off balance by his flattery. The following day, the king confronts his wife about her rumored affair, which she bluffs her way out of by pretending to be offended by his distrust. However, he demands that she wear the diamonds to Gaston's wedding and refuses her request to pardon Athos. Meanwhile, Milady and the cardinal plot to expose the affair by revealing that the queen's diamonds are in Buckingham's possession. Athos writes his will, bequeathing his rosary, watch, and sword to Aramis, Porthos, and Dee, respectively. On his way to his execution, Athos's carriage is attacked by three masked men who abduct him after killing the guards. Athos's brother, Benjamin, Brandicourt, and Saint Blancard reveal themselves as Athos's liberators. However, the musketeers are accused by the cardinal, prompting Treville to lock all musketeers except Storm Shadow in their headquarters. Constance reveals to Lionel that the cardinal plans to expose the queen, and he vows to retrieve the necklace from Buckingham, who's long since returned to England. During his journey, the Highlander is tracked down by Athos, who reveals that he once turned in a young woman who'd fled from her abusive husband. The authorities branded her before hanging her, for which he's been plagued with guilt ever since. Arriving at Angleterre, Buckingham's palace, the pair notice a considerable number of guards preventing a frontal attack. At his costume party, Milady, who's dressed as Harlequin, dances with and seduces Buckingham before stealing the diamonds. He-Man sneaks into the ball after stealing a costume. When he notifies Buck of the impending wedding disaster, he tells him about Harley, who's already snuck away, only to be confronted outside by Athos. A chase on horseback ensues, ending at a cliff, where Luke Skywalker recovers the necklace, but the femme fatale vows to destroy him, before jumping off the edge. In Paris, the cardinal is notified that Milady's ship arrived in Calais without her. The day of the wedding, Queen Anne stalls, but is ordered to wear her necklace to the ceremony by her husband. She collapses out of fear before Duncan MacLeod arrives to surreptitiously hand off the drip to Constance at the last minute. When he confesses that he worries that she doesn't share his feelings, she slips him some tongue. In Paris, the cardinal is notified that Vespa's ship arrived in Calais without her. During the nuptials, Protestant extremists, led by Benjamin and disguised as monks, are thwarted by the musketeers. Though they take multiple lives, Athos saves Louis from a sniper and is pardoned by the king, who also appoints Zorro to the rank of lieutenant in the musketeers. He also declares war on the Protestants. The queen pledges her eternal gratitude and arranges a rendezvous between Conan and Constance at the Red Hat Tavern that night at 10. Unfortunately, she's caught snooping on a meeting of the cardinal's conspirators and is subsequently kidnapped in the street en route to see him. When Sir Lancelot hears her screams, he rushes to the rescue, only to be knocked unconscious. Sacre bleu. All right, that's enough French for you niggas. Two of the eponymous musketeers are more caricatures than fleshed out characters, which would be perfectly fine given that this is more Dee's origin story than anything else, except for the fact that they're referenced in the title. In keeping with the comic book movie aesthetic, a mid-credits scene features Vesper Lynd meeting with the Richelieu and telling him about the musketeers. This is little more than an off-brand Dark Knight trilogy, complete with a music motif that's eerily similar to that franchise's score. This classic piece of literature deserves more than to go down the same ill-advised road traveled by the James Bond franchise and the Universal Monsters Pantheon, a cinematic universe complete with sequel teases and practice villains. The entire series reportedly utilized more than 9,000 extras and 650 horses, and part one cost a rumored $70 million. The Musketeers has loads of potential, but it ultimately doesn't do the source material justice. Hopefully the second part will be an improvement. If you really want to see a European period adventure about a young swordsman falling in love and allying himself with an older swashbuckler with a dubious past who's sentenced to execution, skip this adaptation and watch The Curse of the Black Pearl instead. In other news, it's time to check out some comments from other shows. The Expert 843's response to my Jean Dubarry early review was, "This kind of reminds me of a movie I saw a long time ago. I don't remember the name of it, but it had a lot of debauchery too. LOL. Good to see Johnny Depp back. This looks interesting. Man, your edits. I forgot all about Pimps Up, Pros Down, and Mr. White Folks. You definitely helped me see what's going on in this movie. And I can't leave without saying the Mac is classic." If you hadn't said it, I would have, Expert. After watching the same video, Maya Pez 6802 left a kissy face emoji. Right back at you, Maya. And it prompted Irene Bennett 5004 to add, "I love how you bring all other movies into the mix." Thanks, Irene. Maxine Galpin 6068 dropped a heart emoji after watching the John Dubarry episode. And the same review caused Maple Leaf to comment, "Most definitely seeing this." Shout out to Irene Bennett 5004, Maxine Galpin 6068, Maple Leaf, and the Expert 843 for dropping comments. And shout out to Maya and everybody else who subscribed to the channel. And rest in peace to Alexandre Dumas. But I've had enough of this conversation and I'm logging the fuck off. Au revoir.
Fully cinematic.